Matthew Barrows. Good morning, Matt.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Great.
Well, I think we're a little bit like the 49ers. We're happy with the results from the weekend, but also and for us it's because we're a little older now. We're banged up a little bit, limping around. Hopefully our situation will be just like the Niners, that there's nothing too serious coming out of those limpings around.
Well, I think that they're bracing themselves for one serious injury, which is to Emmanuel Mosley, their starting cornerback. So they may have to kind of figure out a path for that spot opposite Charvarius Ward. But yeah, I mean, I think that they're really hoping that this Nick Bosa injury, this groin injury, is just a little tweak. That the Robbie Gould injury is just a knee bruise, and that the Jimmy Ward injury is something that is not. Usually, when somebody breaks a bone, the guy's automatically out 6 to 8 weeks while that bone heals. But every now and then, if it's a hand injury, it's something where you can wrap up the hand and play with the club. And we saw him lining up at linebacker yesterday. A club probably wouldn't work if you were a safety, but maybe he could do it if he was playing linebacker. So there is at least a path to having some good news come out of the annual MRI truck arrival at Greenbrier in West Virginia.
Matt, I know we have Greg Papa on every week, and one of the things he said as the season started, he thought this had a chance to be one of the best defenses they ever had. He said, really, there's no weakness, can't really attack many things. Maybe, if any, would be cornerback depth. Well, if they do lose Mosley, again, still a stellar defense, but how much could that impact maybe, just maybe, one little sliver of a weakness on the defense?
Yeah, it absolutely could, and it certainly affected them last year. And they would have options, and one of those options is Jason Verrett, who, as we know, tore his ACL in Week 1 last year, which was a game that preceded a trip to West Virginia. So they always seem to have their worst injuries the day before the day that they go to the Greenbrier. I asked Kyle Shanahan about that yesterday. He thought it might be too soon, asking too much, I think were his words, of Jason Verrett, considering that he only really practiced once last week. And he's coming off a year-long injury, or more than a year-long injury. So I don't know if he's realistic for Atlanta, but I would think that he's realistic for the Chiefs the following week. And, the 49ers beat the Falcons on Sunday. That Chiefs game is looming very large. It's going to be quite a matchup, a rematch of the Super Bowl in 2019, et cetera, et cetera. A couple of teams that are probably at the tops of their divisions, too. So there's that. There's Jason Verrett. Samuel Womack came in. He was the immediate replacement in the fourth quarter yesterday. And then Ambry Thomas is another possibility. And then there's one more. Dante Johnson, right now, he's their sort of do-everything guy. He's on the practice squad. He certainly could be elevated and at least be available for the game in Atlanta.
Matt Barrows of The Athletic joining us. And you got that game in Atlanta you mentioned, the Greenbrier trip that I hope everybody enjoys. And then, wow, look at Chiefs and Rams to finish off the bye week, or to get to the bye week, excuse me. So I guess with the Rams, you count that as 2 bye weeks. But anyways, they have some work cut out, but they have the bye week there as well. The team seems to be rolling defensively, and that's been consistent all year. Are you seeing solid improvements, in your opinion, out of Jimmy Garoppolo?
Yeah, I am. I'm seeing solid improvements from the whole offense, and I think there's all sorts of reasons why they were choppy to begin the season. One, Garoppolo, and he didn't take part in the preseason or the off season or any of the seasons, but he seems to have found a rhythm in the last 2 games, and he's looking pretty good. Number 2 is, just like last year, they had issues at running back early on. Their best running back for 2 seasons in a row was knocked out in Week 1. And that really throws this team for a loop. It's just so reliant on its running game. But that also, they seem to have found a really nice duo and a couple of veterans who really know the Kyle Shanahan system. And then 3, and I think this will be the last thing that comes into place, is that it's a really young or rather really inexperienced offensive line. And Sunday's starting unit with Jalen Moore at left guard and Jalen Moore at left tackle and Aaron Banks at left guard, et cetera, was the most inexperienced that they've fielded really since Shanahan arrived. So, I mean, that group is learning all the time, and it's getting better. But, I mean, just the way that Shanahan's system asks for them to block, it's very technical, and it just takes practice and practice and practice. And, with every game, they get a little bit better at it. And I think you're seeing that in some of the breakaway runs that the 49ers have been able to pull out. But my point is that over time, and I don't think it's going to be a smooth line going upward, but I think over time that's going to get better. So by the end of the season, hopefully there are no more big injuries, but you would think that offense would be clicking just like it did last year right before the playoffs.
Matt, I don't know if it was an outlier yesterday, but when you win by 22, you almost feel like you're finding faults in a game where they look good, but a couple of big kick returns feel like an outlier there, or is that an issue they're looking to address?
Yeah, no, it's a big issue. They looked a lot like last year's special teams unit, frankly, with all the mistakes, and one of which led to an injury to the kicker, the oldest guy on the team. You don't want that. So I'm not exactly sure what happened. I have to go back and look. When Jimmy Ward got injured, it meant that Oren Burks came in at linebacker. I don't know if that meant that he played fewer special team snaps because of that. He's sort of their captain or one of their captains on there. So anytime there's a bunch of injuries on a team, you tend to see the special teams suffer because of it, because all of a sudden now guys who were special teamers who practiced on special teams all spring, all summer, are playing regular snaps on offense and defense, and they're not playing special teams anymore. And it's some guy who just arrived, it's some guy who just got pulled up in the practice squad, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that happens quite a bit. I'm not sure what happened on the block field goal. It seemed like a low kick. I don't know if that's Robbie Gould. I don't know if it's the snap. I don't know if it's the hold. But that was something that was supposed to be eliminated with all the changes that they made on special teams.
Probably turning my mic on, Matt. Just real quick, we didn't mention Eric Armstead. I know that's kind of floating around. Any updates on him?
No, it's just that he seemed to do more damage last week. I think that the 49ers like to take all of these injured guys on these trips. They want sort of the camaraderie. All of their training staff is out here, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure if he's realistic. I think a lot of these guys who are dealing with injuries right now, like Trent Williams, for example, he was doing some very light jogging yesterday before the game, but he wasn't wearing a walking boot. He was getting around pretty well, no limp. So I think that Atlanta might be a little bit unrealistic, but that Chiefs game, I would think that there's going to be a lot of guys returning for that game, and that's going to be one of the storylines going into Chiefs week. The Chiefs have a lot of high-powered weapons. They can score a lot of points, but look at all the guys that the 49ers are able to trot out for this game. So I think that's at least the hope of this team, that some of these big-name players like Trent Williams, like Javon Kinlaw, like Jason Verrett are ready to go for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
Matt, I know we got about 30 seconds here real quick. You end up seeing Matt Rule's last game. They're just reporting that he was fired. No one likes to see that, but boy, that team looked like their spirit was lost.
Yeah, and I don't follow the Panthers very clearly, but there didn't seem to be a lot of talent on that team.
Yeah.
So I don't know what any coach can do. They had one really terrific player. His name is Christian McCaffrey on offense. And then Brian Burns was really good and really unstoppable for the 49ers on defense. But that's it. That's all they got. I mean, the wideouts aren't very good. They just didn't bring a lot. And once they got down, they didn't have much fight left in them. So I think that's why that happened. But whoever comes in is going to have to reboot. And, I think it's really interesting that the Panthers were one of the teams looking at Jimmy Garoppolo and were scared off by the shoulder injury and went with Baker Mayfield. And I think it's becoming clear that he needs a lot of talent around him in order to be good.
That's Matt Barrows of The Athletic. Make sure you read him each and every week, more than once or twice. I mean, the guy's turning out content all over the place with the Niners in West Virginia this week as well for that semi-annual trip. All kinds of fun and excitement coming from them out there on their way to Atlanta, and injury updates all week long as well. Matt, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. I'll talk to you soon.
All right,
Thank you.
Take care. That is Matt Barrows.